Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
It's Ebro in the morning. Beautiful Laura Styles. We got Rosenberg and give it up for it.
What about me? She's beautiful.
He wants beautiful Rosenberg.
I'm slimming. I'm getting thinner.
You think?
I know.
Are
now you just want to disrespect me. Now you just want to.
No, I'm not.
Now you just want to come at my neck.
No,
instead.
I didn't realize.
Wow, just
I
saying,
didn't see.
Just think of
because I see. You know, it's like when you see somebody off, you don't notice that they got taller, or you don't notice that they got skinnier. I see you all the time.
Oh, well, just anything. You just say they're handsome or friendly or smart.
You're taking time away from Michael Blake, who's in the room right now.
Still
Give it up for Michael Blake. State
handsome Michael Blake.
Are you state?
I mean, we gonna take it. We gonna take it.
Well, I give compliments.
Michael Blake, what is your official title?
State Assemblyman, New York, Vice Chair to DNC.
Okay.
And handsome and tall.
And handsome, tall
okay.
gentleman, long and lean.
Yes. Whoa. Hey,
wow. Wow.
You still
Out
represent us up here in the BX.
South Bronx.
South
always.
Bronx is your district. A lot of changes happening over there.
Yeah, but we still good. So
How are we doing on the gentrification in South Bronx and affordable housing today?
Affordable housing still good in our district. It's the part that's further south than us that we're a little concerned about, the part by the water.
Yes.
The piano district? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not even going to touch that. Laura already out the gate. Already out the gate.
Is that what they're calling that? The piano
they-
district?
So, bro, the piano district.
They put up some billboard. Come on, man. Like,
What is happening?
Wait, what's the billboard saying?
No, it really said like piano district. Like it was like ridiculous.
What does that even mean?
The only keys they had over there back in the day was cocaine and crack.
Because
nobody played no piano.
Come on, help me with
piano
Felicia.
factories
They
back in
used
the
to be
day?
back in the day.
Okay,
They
so
used to
that's what they want to call it.
Piano factories back in the day.
But it's the same
we doing all
developers
right.
from Williamsburg coming over there.
They
changing
trying
it up.
But we doing all right. We doing all right.
And the change is welcomed as long as they incorporate it into the community.
Yeah, and as long as folks that are living there get to stay there. I mean, that's the
Right.
main thing. I always tell no one really pushes back if you have new things coming in. It's if you can't afford them, right? So we've been real clear about that. We got an award just now, American Entrepreneurship Award, 10 years to help entrepreneurs in the district. So that's going to help people. So we clear about that. And, there's other things that are happening to make sure you keep people in their homes. But it's not as bad as what we saw in other parts of New York because they just weren't ready. But we clear.
You think you're ready?
Yeah.
And now you've also been elected to vice chair of the entire Democratic National Committee.
I'm Jamaican. I like three jobs.
There you go. I respect
we out
it.
here.
So you're in there hanging out with Bernie and what's his name? Tom Perez.
Tom Perez is our
Keith Ellison.
chair. Keith is the deputy chair. We have 4 other vice chairs as well. So we have a good crew. There's 9 of us that were elected for a 4-year term, and we're traveling. I mean, it's real. A lot of times people don't even talk about the DNC because the only time you have elections is when you don't have the White House. Because if you have the White House, then the president will pick whoever's the leadership. So, we came in, and it's a grind. Every day you're going around, people are like, what didn't work? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not going faster? But Trump is making it easy for people to get focused right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll get to that, but first I want to deal with local stuff.
Hit me.
Here in the state of New York, we have recently just finally raised the age of being incarcerated as an adult from 16 to 18.
Yeah.
Okay? There's some controversy around who's responsible. Governor Cuomo wants to say it's his idea. Speaker Hastings is saying it's his idea. Then you have another bill that was supposed to pass. I think the man's name was McNamara or something was his last name or something, which his bill a lot of people liked because it fast-tracked these kids out of these adult prisons into their own facilities as well as closing their files quickly.
Yeah.
Because Cuomo's bill that he passed, if you're 16, you do something, your file stays open for 10 years. And he's not getting the teenagers out of these adult facilities for like 2 to 4.
Can you break down the facts of what Ebro was talking about, like what Cuomo passed? Because I'm trying to figure out, because he was like, when I spoke to him, I remember when I saw the tweet and I sent it to Ebro and he's like, wait, there's loopholes. Don't get too excited. So I'm just interested to hear the exact breakdown of what we're talking about.
So raise the age for anyone doesn't know. We talked about it last time we came on.
Yeah.
16, 17-year-olds, New York was one of the last 2 states to get this done. So we in the assembly had the better bill. It was much more progressive. It would have got all 16, 17-year-olds out immediately. That's the way we think it should have been, going to family court unless it was a violent crime.
Right.
Senate and the Senate Republicans, they didn't even want to touch it. They didn't even want to talk about it at all. Governor had a proposal that came out earlier this year it was okay, just to be real about it. It was okay. It wasn't the best possible proposal. So what ended up happening at the end of the budget, and that's the reason why we were a week late, is we in the assembly, because of Speaker Hasty, we want to be clear about this. This happened because of Speaker Carl Hasty. We want to be clear about that. I'll come back on in a second. Said, if we're going to do this, let's make sure we have a good bill. So the pieces that happened. 16 and 17-year-olds, if you have a misdemeanor, if you have a violation, if you have a non-violent felony, the pieces that you shouldn't be in criminal court for.
You jumped the turnstile, you had a warrant, you ain't going to
That's you going to family court. unless a DA can really show that there's an extraordinary circumstance why it should stay otherwise. So they have to be like, look, I really know, I'm not going to pick on Rosenberg right now.
Please, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I really know
He's white
Rosenberg.
anyway.
Yeah, I'll be
You know
fine.
what I
I'll
mean?
beat the case.
I mean, you be the one that can, make the win happen right now, Rosenberg had an extreme circumstance. Something really jumped off, whether it be there was a weapon on you, you actually tried to harm the person.
Malicious. It was really malicious, whatever.
Then there's a reason that could potentially stay in criminal court. But if it doesn't, it goes to family court. The violent offenses, they still go to criminal court. The problems, though, that are still there, and we want to be clear, this is progress, right? We would get something done, but we didn't go as far as we wanted to. If you stay in criminal court, you still have an adult sentence, which for us is that defeats the whole purpose, right? They're kids, A kid shouldn't have an adult sentence. And when people are wondering, like, what's the difference? We're talking about whether you get 1 to 4 and have parole, or if you get 15 years, right? Like, it's a dramatic difference we're talking about, right? So that's one piece, like, okay, this is not strong enough, and we want to make sure we come back on this. On the ceiling part, the governor put forth, and the Republicans pretty much didn't move on it, that you have to wait 10 years to be eligible to get your record sealed. We had said in the assembly it should be automatic. If you've done what you've done, you served your time, it should be automatic. You should be able to record sealed. But if you got to wait 10 years and you're 16 and 17, that's pretty much,
never get an opportunity.
Like, look, you can make another mistake. You could be in the wrong spot, wrong time, and all of a sudden the whole situation happens all over again. So those were the two biggest pieces that we had problems with. That's why the hashtag kept coming about raise the age right, because we wanted to keep pushing forward on it. This is why Justice League came up in the middle of the night to keep trying to push people on this. So, look, we recognize and acknowledge that some good things happened, but we also want to be real clear that, there's some cats out here trying to take credit on the work that a lot of us have been putting work on for years, and there's more we could have been doing to actually help these kids. And so it's important for everyone to understand we need you to follow up with us now, because it's not automatic that you're going to get these opportunities. And a lot of times, people talk about, well, elections don't matter. Well, they do matter, because quite frankly, if Carl Hastie wasn't the speaker, this wouldn't have happened. Carl was real clear. He's like, I'm not finishing the budget unless we get raised the age. He said,
and
what's
where
the point?
Where's Carl from?
Carl's north part of the Bronx, first black speaker ever in New York's history, an incredible father, his young daughter, Taylor. And straight up, he would get emotional talking about it. He would always say, what's the point of me being a speaker and just be speaker in name only if we're not going to actually do something about this, right? And he said it's embarrassing that in New York, we still haven't changed this.
It is.
So we were able to make progress. But when you listen to some of the cats on the other side, they were starting to come up the same nonsense. They always say, well, these rapists, these murderers, these drug dealers out here running the streets. Come on, y'all. You played yourself. Right? we were real clear. You lying.
You're
that's
lying
what
about what the crime. We're not even talking about these crimes.
We're not even talking about these crimes. But you're just trying to do this to try to continue to play this game.
So right there's a discussion about money.
Yeah.
Because
they care about the jobs of state.
Right. Anytime you hear these discussions about these kids getting treated like adults for crimes they shouldn't be treated like an adult, and everybody goes to Khalid Browder, which was a stolen backpack.
Yeah. An
alleged stolen backpack where he ended up in Rikers for how many years? 3 years?
3 years, 2 years in solitary.
Right. This was a stolen backpack we're talking about.
Yeah. He was my constituent and his mom.
Wow.
Where his mom, folks forget, his mom died because of a broken heart. She kept having heart attacks because she was so frustrated by everything that was happening.
Stress.
After the death of her son.
After the death.
And so in here is a conversation that this decision is tied to a budget. So you always go, what does a budget have to do with making a decision to help kids who make a mistake work their way into having a normal life after a mistake, right? Why is that tied to money? And I would like you to speak on why that is tied to a budget.
So in New York, there's extraordinary powers that the governor has when it comes to the budget. So our budget, if we're on time, it happens by April 1st. We start from April 1st to March 31st. We recognize that a lot of the Republicans will not agree to really difficult things if we don't lock it up when we try to get the budget done. Because if it's not happening within the budget, they're just not going to vote on it. And they were real clear about it. Last year, we talked about Dream Act. They're like, we're not even talking about this.
Stop right there. Republicans in the state of New York will not vote on something unless it's tied to money? Is that what you're saying?
The most difficult decisions? Oh, no. Because they recognize we can't move forward in the state without the budget. So because if there's big legislative items, so last year when we talked about minimum wage, we were able to get minimum wage done because it was like, look, this is part of the budget deal, period. Because these cats will not do these things. They will not allow and push for increase in school funding. They're not going to talk about criminal justice reform. They're not going to talk. They're not touching any of these things. So what we have to then do is, look, we want the budget to get done, it's going to be a part of this. And this is how they came back to us. They're like, okay, well, if you really want to raise the age, well, we want 421A. We want to give the tax credits to the developers so they can keep building housing wherever they want to do. This is how they think. And we want to be
Always
clear.
about money.
Everything. And we want to be clear. This is when cats are talking about how elections don't matter. They matter. Everyone who didn't go vote out in Long Island, out in these places, and you allow these Senate Republicans to stay in place, this is the reason why we keep dealing with this mess. And it's also for these cats in the IDC, which I know they're going to be upset with me.
I'm going to get to that next.
But
Hang on a second. We'll deal with that next. Hang on.
But it's all part of it. Because they all come. Ebro, no, I'm ready to go on this one.
I'm ready to hear it too.
But I'm trying to get people to digest, because it's very disgusting in some ways for me, right? Where you're talking about babies, children,
Kids.
and you have adults, right? Literal, these are grown-ups, saying, yeah, we're not going to have that conversation about trying to improve a child's opportunity to succeed because we want something else that's going to benefit our pocket. Like, that's a very crazy concept to me.
Is it really?
Crazy and very real.
It's not, but you would think that adults would have,
You think that people would care about constituents more than they care about money? I mean, they would argue they care about constituents too, and that the development is good for some constituents and jobs and all this BS. But yeah, of course, they don't.
Well, and also there's
the Republicans don't prioritize the well-being of people of color. That's not. That's not.
And take it even further. They were out here. This is even deeper than just trying to get money from some theoretical aspect. They talking about, well, we want 421A, we want to get more charter money. They were trying to get things that have no impact in their communities whatsoever, but can lead to them getting more campaign contributions, right? Like someone upstate doesn't care about, what
buildings
421.
in Manhattan.
They could care less about buildings, man. They care less about what the education standards in New York. They don't care about that. But they was like, you know what? You want your criminal justice reform? Fine. We want our tax credit.
Because that developer that I can get passed through is now going to contribute
Hit
to
me
my
with
campaign.
a check, allow me to get real. I mean,
It's just a cycle. It's an
sick and
endless
twisted-
cycle of staying in power.
Sick and twisted in how some of these cats operate, in which it was amazing to watch. Again, you're supposed to get the budget done by March 31st, so it starts April 1. We were there a week later because, again, Speaker was like, we're not leaving. We were talking about criminal justice reform, raise the age. Some of them were like, we out. They straight up were like, we out. We leaving. We going back home to our communities. Whenever y'all get done with a deal, then we'll come back. Then all of a sudden, when the conversation started to push forward on us trying to get some things done, whoa, hold on. We can't move now. Oh, okay. So now we want to try to help these kids, and all of a sudden, now it's a problem. Now it's a problem. Now we can't do this.
How do you do
And
this?
how much of this is partisan? How much of this is just because it's a Democrat's idea? Because if it was a Republican's idea, because we see this all the time, how much of it is just literally our two-party system and the fact that if it says Democrat next to it, certain people don't want it, and if it says Republican next to it, certain people don't. Even if the idea is a good idea, because we see this.
Part of it, yes, but we just keeping it 100. Like, I mean, a lot of it is still just about racism, right? And just plain and simple.
In America?
Never. In New York?
But I'm not racist. But no!
I have black friends.
I have black friends. No one I know is racist.
Man, I listened to the segment before about the relationship advice you were giving Rosenberg. That's a whole other conversation now.
Come on, say one thing at a time. I'm good on this one. We're on the same page on this one. Okay?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
These cats, they don't care.
So now we have in our state, the Democrats have splintered off from the other Democrats and created something called the Independent Democratic Caucus. You're going to love this, Rosenberg.
I don't even know anything about this yet. Sorry.
So there's a group of Democrats in an effort to, quote unquote, get more things done.
That's right.
That are caucusing with the Republicans, meeting and creating ideas with Republicans, separate from other Democrats. So they say they're Democrats, but they're having meetings with Republicans separate from other Democrats and making votes independent.
Sounds like Jews for Jesus.
It's pretty good.
Right? I mean, but you can't cut off the other Democrats and go hang out with Republicans and then be like, no, but we're Democrats. But they're not included, just us and the Republicans.
Yo,
that means you're a
what?
Republican.
But wait.
I mean, he has a point, Mike.
Am I wrong about that?
I mean, it's not too much of a stretch, but I mean, okay.
Continue, sorry.
But it's the same idea. It's like,
But the cutoff Democrats have a problem with this, yes?
Well, because it weakens the influence
Yeah.
of the Democrats that caucus because now you've lost numbers to some other thing.
Absolutely.
And listen, when I see Jews for Jesus on the street, I'm like, that sounds cool. I just don't understand. Because that's the main part of Christianity.
I don't even know where you're going now.
I don't get it. Yeah, it's cool. I love that you're also Jewish, but that's not how it works. Anyways, wow, okay. And so what do you do? What are the Dems doing about this?
We need everybody to focus and pay attention and ask these cats that are part of Independent Democratic Conference, why are you not conferencing with the Democrats? Because there's 8 of them that are there. There's one other Democrat named Simcha Felder. He's out in Brooklyn who straight up says he conferences with the Republicans because it's better for him to do that. If they came back and conferenced with the Democrats would have the majority in the state Senate. So when we ask about like raise the age, we would then get a better bill done on raise the age. We could get better funding on education, better housing opportunity. We could do all these pieces. And when you listen to them, it's hard to really understand. Why would you not align? Now, I'm real clear on this. I'm like, so let me get this straight. You were elected as a Democrat. Your constituents recognize you as a Democrat. But your constituents probably don't know that you conference with the Republicans to give yourself power. Power where you recognize.
What kind of power?
Oh, they're chairmen of committees, more funding, bigger offices, bigger staff. But like when you really start to break it down,
But
like,
how do they get that from being down with the Republicans?
because the Republicans have the majority because of them being there.
Oh my goodness.
And you can change the majority simply based on who you're conferencing with?
Straight up. Because you look at the numbers of it, so there's 60, in the Assembly, we have a supermajority. We have 107, 150 seats of the Democrats. So we all good there. Senate, there's 63 senators. 8 Democrats that are part of Independent Democratic Conference. You got one, Simcha Felder out of Brooklyn, Jewish cat out of Brooklyn, who says, I'm conferencing with the Republicans, but I'll come back to the mainline Democrats if I see they in power, right? Brian Benjamin is in Harlem. Brian Benjamin just won the Bill Perkins seat. So you had Brian Benjamin plus the 24 that are already there in the Democrats. You had 25. You add in Simcha, 26. You add in the 8, that'd be 34. 34, clear majority if you did that all combined out of 63. So when you start asking them, well, why don't you come back?
Yeah, why don't they see that?
Well, you know,
Wow.
So where's the money? They're getting a kickback. Somebody's getting a kickback.
Look,
There's a reason that.
when you're in leadership, you get bigger opportunities, bigger offices, bigger staffing.
Yeah, but there's a reason they don't want to be aligned with the Democrats.
No, but isn't it directly that?
Somebody's putting some money. One of those Republican funding machines, one of those big corporate Republican funding machines has now stepped in and been like, yo, if y'all splinter off, get you some extra on your campaign.
Yeah, but look, the reality is power always confuses cats, right? And that perception of power. This happened about 4 years ago when they broke off, and they were like, we're just gonna keep rocking with this because it allows them to keep holding on to this power. And I think when you push it even further, you have a sister that runs the Democrats, the main Democrats, Andrea Stewart Cousins. So help me understand this. We talk about all these progressive values that we're trying to get done, but you're not going to help the sister. A woman in power, a black woman in power. You're not going to help her when we could actually align, but we're going to stay on the side, especially with all the nonsense happening with Trump right now. So we talk about raise the age. When you see the press conferences and the rallies and all these things that are happening, and cats like, well, we got to raise the age, we got to raise the age. Well, this only happened because the IDC brought people to the table. That's disrespecting, Vilman out Montgomery out of Brooklyn, who have been putting to work for years. Carl Hasty, who literally was like, I'm not finishing the budget unless we get this done. Like, don't try to play these cats that have been putting in this work because you're trying to get a headline. And that's the problem. A lot of cats are out here just trying to make themselves feel good rather than are you actually trying to help these kids? Period.
So I guess the next part we have to get to is the midterm elections, which you're running around the country with Bernie Sanders right now.
This week, Bernie and Tom, we all going around the country.
And you guys are doing what exactly on behalf of the Democrats?
We try and get folks aligned right now. We have to end this, am I an Obama Democrat, Hillary Democrat, Bernie Democrat? We can't get anywhere if we still doing that. Reality is we lost, right? We lost because everyone was trying to cut up their lanes and who's going to be more Democratic than whom. And then, okay, I'm going to be pissed off, I'm going to be upset, and I'm not going to vote, and then Trump wins.
Well, you have a significant amount of young people who want somebody or something or a movement that's very progressive like Bernie Sanders.
Totally respect that.
Right? And then you have people who are more your traditional kind of moderate Democrats who are older, who are very like, Hillary makes more sense right now. And we ended up with something that makes no sense.
Yeah, we got Agent Orange in the White House right now.
Donald Trump taking us to World War III.
Straight up. And it's because on the flip side, all these Republicans who were talking about, I would never come back and vote for Trump. What did they do? They all lined up because, they were like, you know what? At the grand scheme, I'd rather have him there so that we can get a Supreme Court justice, so that we can defund all these different pieces. I may not agree with you on a bunch of things, but I'm willing to rock with you. And we can't get to the space where we're so philosophical that we ignore reality right now. Right? Like we played these games and all of a sudden now we have this nonsense happening in D.C.
How do you stop the games though? Because it doesn't feel, based on what I'm hearing happening in Albany and what I hear happening nationwide, like, look, just what happened in Kansas, if everybody was paying attention. Kansas is a notorious Republican state, everybody knows. There was a seat that came open in Kansas, and literally Kansas, Trump won by 30-something percentage points. In this last special election they had, the Democratic nominee that was going to take out, there was a seat in Kansas.
Yeah.
Only lost by 7 percentage points to the Republican.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Which you could have turned a state like Kansas to have another Democratic representative, a progressive or semi-progressive thinker in Kansas. And that says something for where the country's at right now and how bad this Trump thing is going.
Well, yeah.
When you have a middle American red state like Kansas about to go to Republican.
Well, I don't. It obviously doesn't necessarily work to all things that you care about, but I mean, Trump and everything you just spoke about, and Trump are all to me sort of what you get with the party system that we have. I mean, I'm not some sort of revolutionary who necessarily is like, I want to abolish the whole thing. But we are stuck in this situation where, like, there are Republicans who, like you said, they ended up lining up and falling in line with a guy who they morally find reprehensible, who they wouldn't trust to have a conversation with their daughter or wife for 2 seconds. And they still supported the guy because ultimately when it came down to it, they fell down on party lines instead of voting for people based on principle. Now, I'm not saying I have some sort of solution for that because I absolutely don't. But I do think the party system that we live in right now is pretty
too much
fucked.
politics in the politics.
That's right.
But I'm going to push back on it a little bit because the reality is there was 17 cats that ran on the Republican side, right? So at the end of the day, they did come around Trump to win enough states for him to get there. Like, he didn't just get there on his own. Now, he got there because he was talking about this foolishness of death panels and Obama's a Muslim and all this other nonsense he was saying, and people got around that. He was able to get 25, 30%. But it goes to a deeper piece that how do we have more candidates that people are inspired by? Right? How do people actually start to like what's going on in the process so they don't just feel like, okay, I'm choosing between the lesser two evils? If you're feeling that way, then you're not going to be excited to do anything right now.
And you could argue completely against what I said and say that it has nothing to do with the party system and only to do with racism because, like you said, there were, out of those 17 candidates they had, there was a bunch that were terrible. Then there were a few there was Rand Paul and some pretty moderate people and some people.
What's the guy out of Ohio, Gary?
Kucinich, and you had
His name
not
Gary?
Kucinich. Who's the
Talking
one?
about Kasich.
Kasich, sorry,
Greg,
Kucinich.
Gary.
I went back 2 decades. You have Kasich, you had Rand Paul.
I like Gary.
There are different
Greg.
people.
Yeah.
There were different people. I'm not saying they would be my candidate, but relative to what was available, were much more progressive and at least not
Rational.
virulent racists. You know what I'm saying? There were people that were reasonable. And they weren't what was wanted. So I get that goes completely against what I said. It had less to do with party and more to do with we want the guy who subtly is using coded language that makes us feel comfortable. We want America back.
These cats were afraid, this whole make America great again. They having buyer's remorse right now. You know, all these things Trump said he was going to get done in 100 days. Tell me, what has he done? He's created a lot of noise.
He launched a couple of missiles.
Boeing,
who he was saying was charging too much for Air Force One, just laid off hundreds of people.
I mean, like,
those factory jobs, that's not going so well.
Did he say that was 100 days?
Oh, the pipelines.
Yeah, like all
he
these
got that
things.
done.
Yeah, I mean, just clicking on all cylinders.
See, I will tell you,
now.
that's the one thing I don't. Sometimes I get frustrated with the way that us Trump detractors detract Trump. Let's not say he doesn't follow through with his promises. Because he follows through with enough of them, and that's a scary thought.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like, he does tell us he's going to do shit, and then we're like, no way you're going to try to do that. And he will try.
Well, he'll try, but he was telling cats, this is going to be done.
Well, listen,
right, like healthcare.
No,
Just
thank God we have a system that does work and will prevent you from. But the scary part is some of those things that he says he's going to do, he does them. The Muslim ban, he attempted it.
He attempted it.
He did. So, like, let's not all sit back and go, you're full of shit. He's not full of shit.
I don't think
he
anybody's
goes for
sitting
it.
back saying he's full. I mean, there are some
No,
people
we
who
did.
are-
We spent some time going, don't believe what he says. He's not as bad as he says he is.
No, nobody on this show said that.
No, well, fine. But it does go beyond. I know we live in a
People
very
did.
small
I get
world,
that.
but
If
get
I
that.
didn't say it,
I
it
hear
didn't
people
get
say
said.
that. He's not going to be as bad,
If
guys.
I didn't say it, it didn't get said.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if you noticed, the country doesn't all share
Jesus,
our
over here.
belief on Trump.
No, stop it.
And someone once, I forget who I stole this from, but my friend Robin said it to me. I don't know where he stole it from, but yeah, it was someone like
Why
Trump.
you gotta steal it? Why couldn't it just be
He
creative?
did, because he didn't make it up. He read it somewhere, and I don't remember where he read it, but I wasn't smart enough to read it myself, but I heard him say it. And it was with people like Trump, you don't believe anything they say about their past, but believe everything they tell you about their future. He will lie about his past to get to wherever he has, but when he tells you he's going to do something, he's going to try his fucking best to do it. He's done that so far.
He's trying to make money. He's trying to take care of his family, period.
And at all costs. And if he tells you, oh, I might be willing to, all things are on the table when I deal with North Korea, I believe that all things are on the table.
But this is when you get to that space now of, all right, so what do we do here, right? So you talking about the midterm. Even before we get to the midterms, New Jersey and Virginia have governor's races this year. You have a lot of mayor's races happening across the country this year. We're telling people we can't. One thing we have done badly as a Democratic Party is that we only talk about the presidency. Like, people only think about the White House every 4 years. No, people need to be engaged in school board and city council and state legislative races, all these pieces that are coming up now, so you can get ready for a 2018, so that you can help, flip a lot of these seats. In Georgia, what Ossoff is doing down there in Georgia 6, that congressional district with Newt Gingrich represented for years, the fact that they even having conversations of a Democrat winning that seat shows you something's happening right now.
Yeah, Newt Gingrich, they got him on the ropes down there. Huh?
Yeah, people are like, well, there's no possible way. In that same kind of vein, on the other side, no possible way this could be happening. People are like, no, hold on. I'm trying to get involved right now. So we're trying to tell people, we want you to get involved. We want you to get organized. We want you to make sure that you're not just waiting until 4 weeks before an election. And one thing we're doing at the DNC is saying, look, we got to get out there now. The reason why we're going around the country, we want to have these conversations with people now so that they're not feeling like, well, you're only going to holler at me a month before the election.
So when are the Democrats going to start being honest about jobs in America?
About
and
how
when are we going to
some
start
of these jobs are not coming back?
Well, no, about the fact that our high school kids, when we graduate from our graduates coming up, they don't leave high school with a skill, like something that is applicable to going to work right now. Like, all right, you got to go to higher education to get,
which is completely unaffordable right now.
Which is damn near unaffordable. But shout to all the people involved, Cuomo and everyone that got us here in New York State, the free state tuition if you qualify.
Free. Yeah,
we'll get back to that.
Free.
But we're not having a conversation about the jobs that are in the United States, in America, and preparing our young people for those jobs, right? Because I don't care what Trump says, coal isn't the future.
No?
No.
You surprised again.
I keep getting surprised. What do you mean? But
oil
it's good
isn't
for
the
you.
future, right?
What?
It's going to get harder and harder to have jobs unless, firefighter, police department, where you work 25 years, you get your pension, and you retire. Because there was a lot of these jobs, these union jobs, that people, that was it.
Yeah.
Get my union job, put in my 25 years,
get in the
get
game.
my pension, I'm done.
Yeah.
Those jobs are drying up, right? So when are we going to have honest dialogue about what the next generation's jobs are in this country?
Look, I don't think that's just a Democrat thing. I think elected as a whole, cats are afraid to be honest and real with these jobs. The way we know them are not coming back in the same way, period. Right? And we have to make that transition. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they're afraid they're going to lose them elections.
It's going to upset their base.
Period.
People don't want to hear that. They want to hear, where's my job at tomorrow?
And I think the reality, people want you to be real with them,
Until you're too real.
Just here's it. Well, Trump, him being real and whatever it may be, worked for him, right? They didn't
really lying though.
Yeah, but he was real fake.
He was really lying.
For them, it was the aspiration that I'm going to go fight for you for something, right? Like the details were irrelevant for those voters.
Yeah, they just didn't want another black man, and they didn't want a woman. Like,
yeah, he tapped into real emotions.
But if we do that, we missing the boat, right? 219 counties voted for Barack Obama twice that then voted for Donald Trump. So we can't just say, well, they just did this because all these cats are racist and sexist. Now, there's a bunch of cats that are racist, that sexist, misogynistic who did this, yes. But they didn't just do this because of that, right? A lot of them are like, you know what? My jobs are gone. Nothing's happening in my community. I don't feel like y'all going to do anything for me. And he's out here talking about, I'm going to go fight for you. It was an emotional feeling right there. Right?
How many people Trump supporters that we had call us up and be like, he was talking jobs.
I drive a truck.
He was talking jobs.
That's it.
That's all I care about. They didn't care about anything else.
Nothing else
jobs.
matters. And I think until
they're fucking stupid.
That's how you saying?
No, he feels that way. And I hear what you're saying. Well,
I'm not a politician.
Well, by the way,
I get up to be like, yo, you fucking stupid. Yo,
I can't say that. I wouldn't win an election doing that. But I mean,
stupid and selfish. Because number one, the only thing you hear about is jobs, which I get. It's important. We all care about jobs. And number two, yeah, you're believing. He tapped into real emotions. He didn't give real facts.
Yeah,
but he tapped into real feelings people had.
Straight up.
And I guess Hillary didn't do that.
But that's why I put it on the Democrats. That's why I asked you. Like, I'm a registered independent, so I'm not committed.
He's up,
to
so
you can say
win him over. You can win him over.
Say it over.
Right, but my point in that was always it was like, where's our country today? And who is the candidate that is going to run the business of the country the best for where we need to continue to go? I felt like what Donald Trump represents is, even his slogan, make America great again.
Taking you back.
Take me. That sounds like a throwback. You're not talking about progress.
That's all it is.
And the throwback, it doesn't work like that no more. We're not going to lead the country in oil. We're not going to lead the world in oil, auto, tobacco. We're not going to lead in these industrial things. Countries can do that themselves now. So what's our next thing?
So automation is obviously going to change the game a lot. But let's go a step back. Things changed dramatically when President Obama was president. The economy did get better. Did everything happen the way everyone wanted it? Maybe not, but we can't ignore the reality of that progress, right? And so we have to be much clearer of when there are Democrats that are in these positions, regardless how folks feel, you have a better chance of getting jobs. You got a better chance of actually getting an opportunity. You may not get everything immediately the way that you want it, and it may not be how you had it before. But what you're seeing from these Republican policies, they're just straight up like, we're just going to get rid of these jobs. We're not really caring about this. We're going to give you a nice soundbite for you to feel good, but they're not doing anything for you. They're not going to actually give you anything at all. So our job has to be, look, we're going to help create these small businesses on the ground because the small businesses are the ones that are actually going to help get people hired. We're going to be ones that get you training so that you can actually get connected to jobs that are coming down the pipe. We're not going to talk to you and try to lie to you and say all these jobs are coming back the way they were, because they're not. They're not. And people just got to be real about that. And so when people are talking about technology, I think that's one of the biggest frustrations. They're like, okay, we talk about technology and coding these different things. Well, I'm not trying to do that because that feels like that's 5-10 years away.
No, it's now.
No, it's not. And how are we doing it when we're defunding our schools too? How are we preparing our children for these jobs?
All this, that school to prison pipeline and all these different aspects, right? So it's like, look, you can't just keep thinking, no, this is not 10 years from now. The reality is, every time someone tells me this, I'm like, okay, that sounds nice. Did you just go on your phone and use Uber or Lyft to get to where you were going? So please don't tell me that technology is not happening right now, right? The reality is we have to change our mindset of going from just being consumers to creators, right? So everything has to be what's happening now to create these opportunities. And so our job has to be, here's what we're doing now to help you now. May not mean you getting a paycheck tomorrow in some aspects, but we actually going to give you a better chance of getting that paycheck rather than what's happening on the other side.
Or just tell people straight up like I do. Yo, you know there's jobs out here, if you know how to code, they'll pay you $85,000 a year right now. You know how to code?
But you got to go get training. But people don't want to, a lot of times people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, well, you know what, I got to put in some work for a few weeks, few months. Well, how else you going to get this job?
You're going to get left. And them jobs ain't coming back.
That's what you try to tell people.
Well, Michael Blake, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for the clarity. And let's close on, explain to us this free New York State school bill.
Whenever you have your quotations 3 times, and you already know.
It's never great.
The headline was school free for New York State schools. I'm saying it right? That was the
families that make what, under $120-something thousand?
$125,000.
All right, so talk us through this. It sounds good.
It does sound good. So does the Tooth Fairy.
And
so what does this mean? What does it mean?
You're not optimistic.
I think the reality is most people that go to school, look, it's a good thing if anyone can have a better chance to have free tuition and have reduced tuition. I get that. But most people that are going to school, their real challenge is not the tuition, because you can get that through TAP or through Pell Grants or through Seek. It's really, do I have enough money for my books and my transportation to get to and fro? And
living.
This doesn't help with that, right? So you're still not helping those that need the most help. So I recognize and we acknowledge the success of, okay, some people, some families that are below $125,000 can now have a chance to be able to go and get that tuition.
And not be in debt for the next 10 years or whatever, you know?
But then you have to, there's the nuance on this. Okay, then you have to stay in New York 4 years after school. Now, some people automatically say, well, that's a great thing, which I recognize. Yes, you obviously want people to stay. I get that. But if you want to tell a kid, I want you to go live out your dreams, and the best possible job they could potentially get could be in Chicago or in Detroit, and maybe they come back after that, then all of a sudden, well, now you got to pay back the money you're getting. That doesn't make sense to me. You shouldn't be holding someone back and saying, you know what, the only way I'm going to give you this scholarship, the only way I'm going to give you this help is if you say I'm going to stay here for a set period of time, even though you may have something that could be better for you elsewhere. I think about my own life. I grew up at Creston and Burnside, right? Bronx is home for me, 79, 118 Clinton. If someone would have told me, you know what, I know you have a lot of different opportunities, but you can't go work at the White House for President Obama. I'm like, what you talking about? What's the point of us doing all this if you're not going to allow someone to live? So we recognize that there are some good things about it, and we celebrate that. But for a lot of these families, the real issue is, how do I pay for life?
So could
a real thing,
some of
man.
the grants and some of the things that are available to kids now be diverted? So like, let's say I qualify for this free state school, and now maybe some of the new scholarships and grants can go. I can apply for those to pay for the pieces that are the other piece of my struggle.
Unfortunately, they really can't, which is that was one of the big pieces we were fighting on. And so this is one of those things where now we have to go find more avenues to go help these kids. You know, we should be making it easier for those that have a hard time, right? What's the point of us being elective? That's not why we're here. So everything comes back to, and this is kind of where we started. Elections matter. You know, anyone that's been trying to tell folks now that elections don't matter, that's done. That's done. Who you put in the office impact what's going on in your life, period. And we just got to be serious about that. We have to be more engaged on that on the local level. It can't just be every 4 years. Don't just talk to me about, I'm just going to show up for the presidential election. The people that come to office matter right now. And you have to be more engaged, everybody.
There it is, Michael Blake, U.S. Assembly, South Bronx. Congrats on your vice chair position, too.
And anytime y'all need me to be a part of any of the conversations when you calling up on, I was listening. I don't know. Rosenberg was giving some stuff earlier. About
What's your problem with my guru talk?
He doesn't feel your guru.
You know, I mean,
like the rest of us.
Well, see, Laura and I agree. You know, I mean, I really wasn't understanding how you were essentially throwing it sounded like you were throwing your wife under the bus a little bit on the promo earlier. You were talking about like, well, sometimes I don't agree what may happen and all this. Like I was like, damn, that's what's going on.
Well, you know, the thing about being a guru is it's not about being a fraud. You know what I'm saying? I tell the truth. Sometimes things are peachy cream. Some days are tougher. It's important as a guru that I let people know that.
You gotta let them know the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. And being married is hard.
Being married is a challenge, and I have I think a very joyful day-to-day marriage, and still there are challenges. This is real life.
This is what makes you you.
This is what makes me. Well, it makes me a guru more than anything. I was already me. I'm
sure
the
you're
best
part
me
of that
there
challenge.
is.
I'm the best thing that is.
I'm the best me there is.
Oh, okay.
But I'm also the best guru there is. No offense, Shawnee.
What?